Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home, and as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. I don't got a drink right now, but cheers anyways, my friend. How you living?
I'm living, man.
Living, work.
Some way.
I'm sitting here today with my friend, the one and only Clegg of the Commonheart. Make some noise for the internet.
That's nice. So, yeah, it's nice to be here, man. Thanks. Appreciate you.
I'm glad that we are able to do this. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while now. Just, you're a busy individual doing a lot of things with a pretty killer band. You just put out an album this year. I figured we could start with the basics and then we'll get into all the fun sort of nitty gritty nerdy stuff. So Let's talk a bit about the band right now. So the Commonheart, you put out an album this year called Pressure, right?
Yeah.
Well, last year maybe.
Within a year.
Within a year. Fair enough. Nothing's really happened in 2020 to be fair.
I don't even think that it's here yet. This is all this. We are deep in a simulation right now.
Yeah. So, how's everything been with the band? At least you got the album out before the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's things are good with the band. We're just trying to keep our heads above water, man. It's crazy. It's hard to know what to think or feel right now with music. I could sit here and gripe, but there's a lot of people out there going through a lot worse. But
absolutely.
At the same time, it is a bummer. There's no denying that.
Yeah, man, no doubt. So with everything that's been going on with the band and the current state of things, are you still getting together, or has it just been like a hiatus, like indefinitely for the guys?
We're locked down.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I got together. I was doing some virtual streaming shows on my own. And then I did one with my guitar player. And he's really the only one I've seen. We started doing like the record at home, everybody do their own thing. And then we had the multi-camera view thing. We did that, a few of those. That was fun.
It feels like with the music that the Commonheart makes, like this was music that was made for a big stage full of musicians to perform, not just 4 or 5 people. Yeah.
It became that through time. It was like, I don't think that wasn't the initial thought from me when we started writing songs, but they got, once we were writing, all these instruments came into play, organ and horns and, multiple vocals, supporting background vocals, all these, and you just start, the songs just go from cool songs that you love to, they get real anthemy, and like the bigger band just pushes out all this sound, and it got they got more exciting. This physically more bigger we got. Yeah.
Now I would assume, just based off of the influences that I've heard from your music and from your style as a vocalist and a performer, that it just doesn't surprise me that the band turned into what it did, because I can imagine what some of your influences are, and they're all big band type performers, but maybe I'm out of line.
No, you're right on. You're right on. I mean, I looked at, once I realized, really got to feel, it took a couple years to really feel out what I wanted the band to be. And then once I got that vision, it was, with all the accompanying parts, it's like, oh, I'm definitely going to run with this Otis Redding. I'm definitely going to run with this, Joe Cocker and this big band vibe. Now that we had it, I was ready to, I threw my guitar down. I was like, nope, I'm going to run around the stage like an old soul singer. That's the plan. So,
okay. So you were playing guitar originally with the, 'cause I mean, I've seen your solo stuff. I guess I should assume that at some point in time you were playing guitar, even like writing the parts. But I think anytime I've seen you perform, you didn't have a guitar, but I've always seen like the bigger version of the band. I don't think I saw you in the early days.
I mean, I can barely play a guitar. But I just wanted to lean into that traditional, like, old soul singer, you know, they were always one guy with a mic with a big band behind him. And I always thought that was the coolest looking, not to mention like musically influenced, but just the way it looked, I always loved.
Yeah, there's something that's kind of awkward in my brain, and I don't know why I do this, but there will be a lot of times when I hear a band and I'm like, man, this band rips. But then whenever I see that the front person also plays guitar, I'm kind of bummed out. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like that with like Metallica or like, you know, some like of that stuff, but there's other times where it just really rubs me the wrong way. I just feel like I want a performer that's like out there, like getting it, really leading the charge, not kind of like stuck behind an instrument, even if they are really good at their instrument. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit with me the right way aesthetically, but like that's such bullshit. It's just in my brain, you know?
No, but that's the programmed rock band of like the lead singer is supposed to be Freddie Mercury, you know, like
totally
like that's the, you know, basis of rock music, you know, throw your leg up on the speaker and wail, you know what I mean? Like that, but that is a good image though. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it, there's some pretty heavy vocalists that can play the guitar, right? Too.
Oh yeah, totally. It's different for everybody. I think that, you know, it's like, again, like going back to Metallica, like I couldn't picture Metallica without James Hetfield behind a guitar, like just having a front, it would be weird.
Yeah.
But then like, I couldn't picture like Anthrax. Like I don't want to see Joey Belladonna holding a guitar. Like I just want him holding his little short mic stand running around the stage.
Right.
Or like Bruce
like
Dickinson.
Henry Rollins. Like
Or Henry Rollins with a guitar would be the worst.
Yeah. No,
because he couldn't do that stance, you know, like in his shirtless, short little like power stance thing that he likes to do.
You know who broke the mold though?
Who?
Prince.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because he was that dude all day, like had all the dance moves, had a ridiculous vocal, didn't need a guitar, but then he needs to be like, oh, by the way, let me see that real quick. And then just demolish it.
Yeah, there will always be like just like the subtlest nuance of guitar in like 80% of a Prince song, and then the other 20% is just over the top.
Yeah.
It's such a nice balance with, you know, your background, not as a musician, but as a listener and lover of music. What was some of the earliest stuff that you came across that made you appreciate music on a deeper level?
I think like as a teenager, when I first started breaking into my brother's room and listening to his records, it was Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, Joe Cocker, the Beatles, and then about 500 AC/DC records. So, and then one Van Morrison record, which probably stuck with me the most.
Okay.
But that kind of got me going. And then when I started getting my own stuff, I got the Chronic and Dookie on the same day.
All right.
At the record store. I remember I earned $25 somehow. And instead of buying pot, I went and bought those two CDs, and just heavy contrast. But I think that was, I don't know, that was just kind of how I was growing up. I was really into rap and I was really into metal. And then I had like a kind of a punk phase, bunch of phases. But the biggest like shift in my life as a musician came when my mom gave me a BB King record.
Okay.
And that led me down a totally different path that I wasn't really, because I was singing in punk bands and metal bands and like a rap metal band when I was 17, 18.
Really?
Yeah. And then, and then I got once I got into the blues really heavily, I kind of stepped away from being in bands. I went to college, and that's when I kind of just started with the blues and then soul and R&B. And I haven't really looked back at least from what I'm putting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you still make time to listen to any punk or metal or hip hop? You still into that stuff, like on a personal level?
100%. I really am, because the thing, what I realized about music that I love the most is when music makes you feel an emotion.
Yeah.
Just a physical thing in your body changes. And I find that for different reasons with punk music, or especially with hip hop, you know, or metal. If, you know, if I'm feeling anger, that's still an emotion, and not even, you know, with hip hop, it like, if I'm just feeling real introspective, or just like want to just want to shut my brain off and let somebody else's knowledge infiltrate and take things over a little bit, that's when I'll really lean into hip hop. Or I just have a big thing with metal when I'm in my car, but that's probably pretty obvious.
I think, you know, you mentioned the 90s, Green Day Dookie. That was the first CD I ever bought with my own money, birthday money. I bought Green Day Dookie when it came out. And I think there was something about the 90s, and I was talking about this with somebody else recently, where it was so normal to just like everything in the 90s. It wasn't weird. Not that it's weird now, but then, like, it was just, there was all kinds of music everywhere. And like when I was when Dookie came out, I would have been in 3rd or 4th grade, and it wasn't weird for me to like Dookie, but also to like Rage Against the Machine, and then also the Beastie Boys. Like all that stuff like made sense. Like me and my friends loved all that stuff. And then, you know, I got a little bit older and the punk stuff started coming in. And then as I got into high school, it seemed like the people that I knew, everybody kind of had like their thing that they listened to. It wasn't just like, oh, we listen to everything now. But I always was like the weirdo that would like go to the CD store and buy like, you know, a Cradle of Filth CD and a Bjork CD in the same fucking day.
And it wasn't just us, and we weren't weird, because if you look at the industry and what it was doing, Rage and Wu-Tang did a tour together.
Totally.
Like it was money in the bank that those genres were crossing in a big way. So that's just like, it's just, I think it's part of, you know, of our generation. And how old are you?
I'm 34. I'm turning 35 in October.
Okay. I just turned, so I got 5 years on you.
Nice.
But the same, that whole time, like you say, it wasn't, everybody was listening to everything. I think I grew into more what I'm listening to now, but the one thing that I constantly fall back on is hip hop. I will listen to a lot of rap.
Mm-hmm. I will say, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I listened to when I was younger that I definitely still listen to. My parents were super young when they had me. My dad was a metalhead. So like all that stuff, I mean, I grew up with Metallica and Anthrax and all that shit. And I love that stuff to death. That's like my lifeblood. But then there was like, you know, a lot of stuff in high school that like, you know, I liked Blink-182 for a while. I don't really think I like that anymore. And then like,
I don't like the Doors anymore.
Sure. You know, and then like, new metal happened, and some of that stuff I still like I'll still fuck with Korn, but Limp Bizkit, maybe I kind of regret those days a little bit, but not too much. I mean, regret's a funny word. Like I'm not ashamed of anything that I listen to. I listened to Insane Clown Posse when I was in 8th grade, but what are you going to do? You're in 8th grade.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Was there anything, I mean, I guess you kind of answered the question already by, saying that you were in a rap metal band, which I wouldn't have expected. It's not surprising, but I just wouldn't have expected it. But the question I was going to ask was, you know, is there anything that you listen to now that may surprise people that, you know you from being in the Commonheart? Because I don't think it would be too like much of a surprise to be like you're into hip hop. Is there anything that's like real left field that you're super into?
I don't know. It might surprise people the amount of metal we listen to in the van.
Okay. Yeah. So back to the metal.
Yeah. It's, you know, and I'm getting schooled to it. Like, I don't know a lot of, I'm a little bit not as in tune. I'm trying to think that some of the bands they were showing me that I really liked. I'm gonna sound so bad on your podcast.
It's all good.
They've showed me some really cool stuff. Like, I'm a big Tool fan. I don't know if that would surprise people, but maybe this is a little weird. One of my favorite. I bet people would never guess one of my favorite bands of all time, and that is Blind Melon. Wow. Okay. I think that the records that Blind Melon put out in the 90s were some of the best records. They still stand tall today.
Blind Melon always seemed like one of those bands that just didn't get a fair shake. You know, people know their one song, and I'll admit I'm not familiar with their catalog, but anything that I've ever heard by that band was like, wow, they were just a really, really good rock band. But
right.
I don't know, maybe they just weren't they weren't dirty enough or pretty enough. They just were in the middle somewhere. We can't market this band. That was the one thing that was really funny about the 90s, was just how everything was, well, I guess that really hasn't changed at all, I suppose, with the way, it's, looks and selling stuff based on, what does this band look like?
Right. And to add to weird people out, or whatever our goal is here. Whitney Houston all day.
Oh,
I'll put on when I'm just alone on a Sunday on the porch, a little Whitney Houston record.
I can't I don't think there's a vocalist on this goddamn planet that is worth a fuck if they don't have respect for Whitney Houston. What a monster that woman was, in the best way. Like, just a vocal monster.
It's beyond respect, though. I'm a little bit of a fanboy.
Yeah. I bet it's just like, there's so much nuance and emotion in her vocal performance that is so hard to capture. And like, there will be times with like a Whitney Houston song is on and I'm around somebody and like, I'll kind of nerd out a little bit, just listen to what she does here. And people are like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, you don't get it. There's so much heart in it. But a lot of people don't like listen to music the way that I listen to music, or maybe you listen to music.
Right.
Whenever.
Yeah. I mean, perspective. I mean, we're, in some ways biased. Our perspectives. I'm taking since I've been trying to be a more serious, legit musician, I do listen to music totally differently. It's weird. I think it's good, but it's also just, I would like to know, what younger me was feeling. That seemed to be more about feeling and less about, I'm thinking about stage shows
and technicality and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm the same way. That kind of goes back to, not being able to listen to some of the stuff that I liked when I was younger. Like, I recently, maybe in the past couple years, tried to listen to the first Mudvayne album again for the first time since I was in high school. And I was like, these are just dog shit songs. Like, I loved this band when I was a kid, and I know that they're talented musicians, but these songs on this album are bullshit. And I couldn't listen to it anymore. And I was almost mad at myself for revisiting it because, I wish I would have just had this pure memory of Mudvayne, as if I ever expected that to be a sentence I would say out loud. But but at the same time, it also kind of sucks because I can't just listen to something without thinking about like, oh, that snare drum sounds like shit, and this song structure isn't good, and I wouldn't have done that. Like, why can't I just fucking drop the ego and listen to something for what it is? Yeah.
Same thing happened to me with the Doors.
Okay. So
I just I don't know, it was my 28th or 30th birthday. I just kind of put the Doors on. I was like, this guy's a real asshole. I don't like this shit anymore. And I used to have posters on the wall,
Yeah. I've definitely, I've had those moments in my life whenever there's been artists that it kind of clicks in my head as I get older. That's like, why did I like this person? It's not a musical thing. It's more of just like they were just kind of a shitty person, or they just were lame. It's just like, oh, fuck. But you live and you learn. There's really not much else you could say about that. I'm curious about, you mentioned whenever you started listening to music a little bit differently because you were trying to do music a little bit more seriously and take a different path. Like, what age were you then? Like, where were you at in life when you started like consciously really thinking about music differently?
I was roughly, it's like 2007. So 26 or so.
Okay.
I went up to IUP and started writing these songs in my apartment, went to an open stage, met some really good musicians. Fast forward a little bit, I'm singing some songs with them, and just when, I don't know, I think it's when people were like, that's actually a really good song, man. It made me feel something, and I was like, oh, well, that was just this one seed, and it grows into like, you having a bunch of songs that people like. And once you get people that are into your music and they're telling you that, and then you start thinking about, oh, well, I want to do this. I want to start a band. So, slowly over time. And then at one point I was just like, man, I think I want to do music forever. I want to do this. I want to be a musician. And I think that's when it kind of turns,
I gotcha.
You start, you still have the music and the songs you love and the things that make you get through every day. But then you might put on, I might put on that record and be like, oh, listen to a James Brown record and be like, oh, how did he do that? And, which is still something I'm trying to figure out, but you just start to pick up cues from people you idolize. And then that's when I kind of felt like, man, I'm definitely listening to music different. So not the same.
I'm curious about what your experience was transitioning from playing in heavier bands and being a part of that scene to doing more of this, singer songwriter, being around different people that maybe go see live music for a different reason and are just a different environment. Did you notice like a huge shift in worlds, like going from one to the next?
Yeah, but it wasn't overnight. It was, when I left those bands, I had left my hometown. I was 4 years at college, and I was singing with a great jam band, kind of a jazz fusion project called Jazam. And that was like that was the first band that like took me on the road. But I was a very minor part in what the band was. It's like they had a lot of great instrumental music, but they wanted a vocalist on certain things. So I'd come out in the beginning. I was coming out for a couple songs. So I got to really kind of ease my way into what it was like to be like a touring performer. So that was kind of like literally when I was in college, but also like music college. And those guys taught me so much. And then when that came to a close and I started my own thing, and starting to write my own songs and grow into different bands that came from that. It was, everything kind of shifted. And I realized like my sound and what it, how to do it and who I am as an artist, which, that kind of sounds corny to say, but when you have that moment of realizing like what you're good at, what people like about you, what people like about your songs, what you say in your songs, and people respond to that emotionally, then that's when I started to get attached to kind of like, whatever image my band at that time had, if that made sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. I was thinking, whenever you were just telling me about your trajectory, I know that there was like a gap of time in between, and your story reminds me a lot of my buddy Jake, who started a band called Northern Gold. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
Yeah, I know Jake.
Yeah, so Jake used to play in metalcore bands like back like like a decade or so ago. When I first started rapping, I was rapping opening up for like his metalcore band, playing little fire halls and shit. And then time passed, and I don't think he was doing anything musically for a while. And then he started, he was always like doing solo stuff, but he wasn't like performing. And then I remember like seeing him after like he had started doing some open mic nights playing like Northern Gold songs, or maybe what turned into those. I remember him being like, people are nice. It's really weird. Like everybody's just happy to see you, and people are really supportive, and it's like so different from like the other shows we were playing. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's wild.
Yeah. I have a little taste of those. Like my older bands when I was growing up, the scenes are different. I mean, I don't have the perspective on them as like an adult versus like then versus now. I was probably part of the problem in those scenes back then. Okay. But,
we all were. Everybody was a part of the problem.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I wasn't special, but I was there, so probably bad. But yeah, different scenes have different vibes to them, and especially the singer songwriter scene where Jake's kind of doing his thing now with that band. It is people are really, because it's a lyric scene, like it's like a very high emotion, like people are pretty tuned into what you're doing, and if somebody's there, that means they really care. And I think it's awesome. It's special, but there's special things about the metal scene too. I'm sure that it might be different, but what are some of the ties that you like find to that scene that give you positivity?
I think, for one, I think the scene that, me and Jake came from, like the high school scene, it was high school. So it's going to be a lot
more to do with youth,
different and weird. Yeah. It's youth driven. It's clicky. It's, it's just, they're kids. We were kids. Yeah. But now, with the metal scene, and there's kind of like two metal scenes in Pittsburgh. There isn't like one collective scene. There's two very distinct heavy metal scenes, and we're not a part of one of them. And I don't know why. There's just kind of like there's like, I don't know what it is. It makes no sense. I've always say if this was high school, we would all sit at the same lunch table together. So I don't know like why we're not homies now. But Some people just like, I think maybe it's kind of a bridge thing. There's like the South Side people, and then there's like the East End metal scene. Like the Smiling Moose metal scene, and then like the Goose Geese rock room metal scene. And those bands just don't play together ever.
Right.
But, we're friends with some of those people, and everybody's really cool. And I think that that's the fun thing about the metal scene. It's just like, goddamn well how passionate people are about heavy metal. So it's more than just the music. It's about like hanging out with people because you're so excited to tell them about some new obscure ass death metal record that you found, or some band that you heard about, or, there's this weird band from Finland that's on tour playing at the Smiling Moose for some reason, and all you and the homies are going to go down. You're the only 20 people that are there, but it's fun because about this weird little thing, and it's so awesome. So it's super nerdy. The metal scene is super nerdy. That definitely hasn't changed.
I also think it's something, and not just the metal scene, but music scenes in general, especially across this city, but I'm sure across every city, because I find like a lot of cities have similar, scenes. Like there's a lot of people loud about all the problems and
totally
unjust unfairness of things. And then there's, other people that are just there because they're passionate about music. But I think sometimes we forget, we live in this world where Pittsburgh is this very small city, but it's pretty big. There's a lot of people here. It's not shocking that there's multiple scenes, like especially such a neighborhood driven city, just like you said, South Side, East End, like these people aren't getting together and growing up together. So the first time they cross paths is probably either at one of their peers' shows or an icon show or whatever. And I think there's not a lot to like come up together here, especially in the city, because everybody usually moves here once they already have their life plan in place. There's not a lot of like, I didn't grow up in Pittsburgh, you know what I mean? I grew up 20 miles south.
Okay.
So even being that's not far. Like I grew up, a Steeler fan, and would call myself a Pittsburgher if I was in France. But
sure,
I think when you get to the city as an adult with a project, whether it be a small business or a band or whatever, you're not really coming up with others around you in your scene. You're just you already know what you want to do, and you already have your plan set. So my point is that it doesn't surprise me that we might not feel like scenes and other groups of musicians mingle well. Because you might not like know each other at all.
Yeah, dude. I've never been one to think that it's a music thing or something that's unique to Pittsburgh. Like people are people, and it's just human nature that, we're not, it's not that we don't like each other. It's just, it's like, well, I don't know. We're musicians. So we all have we're all battling this yin and yang of like crippling self-doubt and unrealistic ego. So it's like,
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. So, you get a bunch of people in a room together that everybody's like, no, even if you don't want to admit that you're trying to be cool, everybody's trying to be cool at a show. You know what I mean? So sometimes you might be like, oh, like, well, I don't know them, so whatever, I'm not going to talk to them. I've been guilty of it, but then you end up talking to him. You're like, fuck, you're such a cool asshole. Why the fuck haven't we been talking the whole time? But there's just that weird thing where, like, you know, I personally, like, sometimes I don't want to be bothered if I'm like at a show. Like, I kind of just like, it's not that I'm not social. It's just kind of like, I don't always like being talked to because I'm not good at small talk, which is funny since I do a fucking podcast, but this has a goal. So I can do this, but just like random small talk with people. Like, so what's going on? You know, how's the new album going? What are you doing? You touring anytime soon? Like, I'm just like, I don't want to fucking talk about this because, to be honest with you, all your questions are stressing me out because being in a band is hella stressful. And I don't know how we're going to pay for this album. And I don't know if these shows are going to come through or not. But you got to be like shitting and grin like, yeah, everything's fine. You know,
everything's great.
Yeah. Label offers are wrapped around the block. We have executives in the crowd tonight watching us. You know, we're going on a tour with fucking Mudvayne. You know, some shit. Like, you know, I don't lie to people, but you know how complicated it can be.
Oh yeah, man. And the pre-programmed answers that you've answered a dozen times that night. And it's not, but I tell myself in my mind, it's every question's coming from people who care, you know.
Totally
push through them, you know, but it kind of is what it is. Yeah. But I understand about being at a show. You're also trying to take in a new experience too, you know. So
I'm trying to, like, if it's a show that I'm playing, it is rough because, like, there's part of me that wants to watch and enjoy the other bands, but also I'm like waiting for somebody to do something dumb so I can make, like, okay, we can't do that because I want to be the best band that plays. I don't care if I'm playing a show with my best friends. I still want to play better than them. And it's like not a competitive thing. It's more just like, I want to feel like we played the best set, even if we didn't. That's just like, just because I feel like that energy is like what I need, especially as like a front man in a metal band. It needs to be this like confident, I'm the shit, I'm in charge energy. Otherwise it's like, why the fuck would anybody watch you, especially if it's heavy metal?
Yeah, right. You can't go out there and be like, I'm glad you guys are here tonight.
yeah. And it's hard because, like, I'm like a criminally modest human being, I think. I'm like too like, oh, whatever. Like, thanks for coming out, guys. But like, I'm not the thanks for coming out, motherfuckers. Like, I'm not that dude, but like, I have to be because it's just, that's the role. That's the job that I've taken. I have to do the job.
Right. I feel that. And I get that too with the Commonheart too. That's like, we've had, it's been good that to create this. We're been a very like vocally positive group that we're trying to push positivity. Which, man, I wish we were out there doing it now, just as much as you do.
Yeah.
But I became something else once that metamorphosis happened. I was like, no, I got to go out and I got to do the preacher thing, which makes me feel really good. You know, it might not be who I am every moment when I walk off that stage, but when I'm on that stage and I'm doing that thing, I feel it's genuine because it's like I think you got to have, this might come across corny, but I'm just going to go for it. In this like 2020, you got to have dimensions in your soul. You got to be like multi-dimensional heart and soul. It can't be just, I think you got to be just deeper than that. And that what we're doing with the Commonheart about when I'm shouting about being positive and giving love to get it back. And I mean, all that stuff, it's a part of me. And that, like, when I'm out there doing that, it's like, it makes me feel whole, but I didn't always feel that way. Sometimes I felt like it was a character, but it just kind of turned into something else.
Sure. Like, as tough and as yelly as I can be when I'm playing shows, I feel like at the end of every Greywalker set, pretty much, I always say, take care of your friends and family. And I mean it. Because it's very like, like I write a lot of songs about like, dealing with like, self issues, other people and their issues and struggles and, complicated things, just trying to figure out life. And, even though we're a super angry band, I do feel like for the most part, none of our music is negative at all lyrically. It all has at least some sort of a positive shine, a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like there's always a perpetual light at the end of the tunnel. So, I feel like if you didn't understand one word that I said this whole damn night while I was up here, at least get this: take care of your friends and family. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, that is important.
Yeah. And if you drug someone out to this show that doesn't like metal, but they're here for you, appreciate them.
Buy their dinner.
Yeah, buy their dinner. So, outside of the Commonheart, outside of being a musician, do you have any other hobbies or things that you like to do to pass the time?
No.
Fair enough. That's fine.
No, I went through all the standard quarantine things.
Okay.
I got put puzzles.
All right.
I baked sourdough bread.
Hell yeah.
So now I'm not doing any of those.
Okay.
They didn't stick.
Did you do any painting, watercolors?
No.
Nah, not much of a visual artist.
No. A lot of drinking.
Okay. What have you been drinking?
Yeah. That's a hobby.
Yeah.
But no, it's I've been writing the record, which has been really good. Which I'm really excited about, writing our third record. So that's really consuming my time. And actually I was doing like the virtual shows, kind of fell out of love with them pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was not as much for me,
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working on a lot of projects which I'm about to put out here in a couple weeks. Just some like duet, stay home kind of song collabs with different artists. My boy Kenny, and my friend Ann, just great singers that's kind of doing the same thing, sitting at home, and we'll get to like pick a song together and arrange a way to duet it, and then they do it on their phone, and they send me the WAV file and the video, and then I've been learning like video editing, which is something I've always wanted to learn. So I guess I have been doing some stuff, productive stuff, but
that's awesome, man.
I just want to play a show so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. It's the same for me. I knew that it was hanging on by a thread, but we were booked on Millville Music Festival, and I just got the email an hour ago that they canceled that.
That's good. They canceled that.
So I was like, okay, well, I was hoping for the best.
But
I was hoping for the best, but I'm not going to be mad about it.
We'll get back, man. We'll get back eventually.
Yeah, it was. I had I posted a video yesterday doing a little rant, just kind of talking about like, should we feel safe going to live shows or not? Blah, 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 blah. I'm personally like, I would feel safe at a show, but that's just me. I'm not saying that we need to have shows or that if you don't feel safe, you're a dummy. It's just like me personally, just kind of throwing that out there. But then I was like thinking about it as a performer, because I saw a friend of mine had posted something like, for all the local people, like what's the big deal? Because like, you're just going to be playing to the same 20 people that you were playing to before. And I was like, I guess, that kind of stings, but you make a good point, my friend. So just I think that it's just, you just miss it. And, you start to think a little bit irrationally and start, not thinking about what's best for society. It's easy to be selfish as an artist, as I think I've already said a little bit. If I haven't had a reason. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm waiting for it. I think that I was just like really, really bummed personally because, we spent a few $1,000s on a whole light setup and programmed this whole thing, got the new projector, like our whole thing, like a whole big show ready to go. And then it was like, nope. And then I started a new band. I'm actually doing a new wave project with a friend of mine. And we have like a whole album written, and we had like shows booked. Our first show was going to be April 1st. And we had like 3, like getting that. So it was just like smacked us right in the face. So like, I'm real anxious because I want to like start sharing that stuff with people. But everybody's priorities and their mind is definitely in a different space. I don't think many people are too concerned with my fucking new wave project right now, given everything else that's going on. So I need to be realistic about it, but in my head, I'm still like, damn it.
What's the name of that new wave project? Well, we got it.
It's going to be called Some Faith.
Okay.
Yeah. We just finished the master on one song. We were going to like put together the whole album, then do like a proper release. But now with the way things are going, I think we're going to do more of a single thing. So we'll probably be putting out a single soon. And we're trying to shoot a music video for it too. That's going to be like very, very minimal, not like some huge production, but just something to go with it. So yeah, just doing that.
When does your Mudvayne tribute project come out?
I keep joking that the new Sykes and the New Violence album is basically a new metal album. I keep saying that it's hip hop for kids who used to wear wide leg jeans. Because it has like real. I'm just leaning into it. I don't know. When it comes to that stuff, it's like I'm just gonna write songs that are 110% me, and if like it makes me smile, like I'm laughing to myself at some of the stuff. Like, I can't believe we're doing this, but I'm having fun. That's right. That's the good feeling. I have to chase that instead of like in the past with some of the stuff that I've done. I haven't like made music that I didn't want to make, but I think there have been times with my hip hop stuff where I'm like, oh, I want to do more traditional hip hop sounding stuff. I don't want to go too heavy on the guitars or too heavy on this because, I want it to be a rap album. But now I'm kind of like, all right, I did that. I want to make a High School Brian album now, because I never really did it, which is funny. I was always like worried about something being too much this or not enough that. Just letting go in my old age. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Yeah. 110% fuck it. So with the Commonheart and the album that you put out last year, Pressure, I believe that, you did that a little bit more in a legitimate fashion when you released that. It wasn't just like hey, we're putting out an album. Here it is. Like, you have like a physical copies that you can buy, and you did a little tour and you were on TV and stuff. So what was, that experience like, or just in general, what's the experience of being like, almost, if not a real band?
It was weird to go through all that, but it was good. I felt like it was some steps that I'd taken before that just fell down, but then they finally like came together. And that, there's like the old story of you go to South by Southwest and you get a label to pick you up, and then you put out a record, and then you do a tour and you do some promotion, and all the stars align. And a couple of those things actually happened. We met our label at South by, which was kind of a really good thing. And they're great people, small label out of New York, called Julian Records. And they helped us put the record out. But also there's more than just the band. We had a really great team around us too. We have, we have some different management, Opus One here in town, and then Madison House out in Colorado, and our booking agent too. So it came, what was not surprising, but what was really helpful to me is like, we just had this really big team, and all, that really believed in us. And when we finally got to the point where we got to go and do the TV spot, it was just surreal, and it felt really good. And we're really proud of that record, and, the way it rolled out. The whole like past couple years have been, I'd say, like a dash of weird, but a dash of like super motivating. Just more people come in, and you just feel more belief, and you just want to push further and get bigger and bigger. And I also think it really instilled in me that this is not an overnight thing. I want to put, a lot of people have, might have a song break or something that elevates them to that higher pay grade, which I'm hoping to get to, but just it can take 10 years, 20 years, I'm just like with music, as long as I put that time in, and as long as I can sing and do this thing, I think it'll be worth it. Even if if I'm 75 singing the blues at some Permane Brothers by myself, I'm still singing.
Hell yeah. I think that one of the things that is really cool about your band and being a Pittsburgh-based band is the amount of restraint it seems that you've had in terms of not playing just a bunch of gigs here, wearing yourselves out here, actually taking the time to just kind of hide in the shadows, do the scenes that you need to do behind the work, make the connections, work on the music, actually work on having good fucking songs, recording them properly, and then like you said, having that team behind you to help push you, and then going out and doing things, which I don't know if it's the right way, but it's obviously a way that worked for you. But I do think that a lot of people in local bands, this can't just be a Pittsburgh thing. I'm sure this is anybody all over the world. You just get caught up in that trap of being like a local performer because you kind of just put all of these obligations on your plate that only allow you to operate as a local band, because it's like, well, we have shows booked locally for the next 4.5 months and we got to do this and that. You're not giving yourself that opportunity or reason to actually leave. Mm-hmm. And I think that, also it can be hard for a lot of bands to have the opportunity to leave. And then there are just some bands that just don't want to. Some bands are just happy being here.
Yeah. There's a lot of bands that are down, they're just like, no, this is my, I'm going to play. I'm here. This is where I'm from. And that's good too. I think some of the choices we made early that's really something that our management came in right away. They're like, okay, you just sold out Mr. Small's Theater. You're not going to play Pittsburgh for a year. Yeah. And then the next time you do it, it's going to be bigger. And in the meantime, you're going to keep making good music. And that's what they kind of taught me from day one. Like really picking spots was something that I wasn't buying into. I was like, what do you mean we're not going to play? What do you mean we can't play Deutschtown? What do you mean we can't play Arts Fest this year? What do you mean we can't?
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to play, and you're just hungry and you're a musician. But people who know the business are like, no, you need to be smart. Pick the right spots and build your fan base that way. And I would recommend that strategy to anybody coming up. Just like, really be picky about your shows. Don't play 1,000 shows a year just because you can. Make sure I think that helps. That taught me a lot, at least.
Mm-hmm. I think that that's maybe one good thing about us not being able to play right now is that hopefully, even when opportunities do come back, they're going to be few and far between. So I'm hoping that, artists are more picky about the gigs that they decide to play. I'm hoping that promoters are a little bit better at curating events, actually like booking artists that they're passionate about instead of just like booking whoever will play. And I think that, fans are going to be hungry to come out and see music too. So I think it could be good. I think for everybody, if they take this time now to just focus on their craft and focus on being a better player, a better writer, or if they want to, focus on whatever else. There's so much stuff that you can do behind the scenes to help better the band. There's been plenty of times with Grey Walker when we've gotten show offers that'll be like, it's another weekend gig, at X Pittsburgh venue. And it's like, why don't we just like not play that and invite everybody over to the practice space? Why are we moving our gear across town to play for people that just want to hang out with us? We don't need to play. They've seen us play. Let's just invite everybody over and get some beers and hang out. Because that's ultimately all we want to do, right? We're just trying to hang out tonight. It's like, yeah, we want to play, but also it's like, well, if we're not going out of town and we just played last month, like, why?
Right. But,
I think that that's something that I don't know if it comes with age or just experience of playing a lot of shows, but I don't know. I'm definitely not over it by any means, but I definitely do not see the value in continuing to play over and over again.
You're just like you say, you're not over it, but I think it's okay to have days where you're over it.
Yeah, totally. And I think like again, like I think it's just like knowing like what is the end goal? Like what are we actually trying to accomplish with this show? You know what I mean? Because like we go out of town a good bit. Actually, our first show, we have a show booked that is out of town. It's probably not going to happen, but we have one book that's out of town. So we do get out as much as we can. And we haven't played Pittsburgh in quite a while. I honestly don't even remember the last show we played. It was actually in January, so it was right at the beginning of the year. But but even before that, I don't think we had played Pittsburgh in maybe half a year. But whenever we, I completely forgot what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. It was just we're trying to. Man, I completely lost my point. Oh well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Music, not playing too much in the city. Don't. It
can give you a good resetting things.
Okay. Yeah.
Positive. I think for going back out, when you're talking about going back out and doing shows again, I think the scene's going to be hungry, and it's a good opportunity to really pick your battles. And that's the way we feel. We don't want to come back for the sake of coming back. We want to come back the right way. I think everybody should think like that. And then, like you were saying, promoters, local bands, big bands, just come back the right way. It's just so no more setbacks. That's what I'm preaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's get through. If it's 6 months, cool, but let's not do it in 3 months so that we're screwed 9 months later.
Sure. It's hard to say like what the right or wrong reason is. I can say, this, like all I'm good at is, making beats and writing heavy metal songs like that. That's my thing. I am not qualified to tell anybody when it is safe or not safe to hold an event due to a pandemic. I am not qualified for that. So I'll leave that to the professionals. And if they say don't do it, then I won't do it. If they say it's okay and we can do it, then I'll do it. Because I mean,
when the green light goes, I'll be running.
Yeah. With man, it's so shitty because, this is, the time in the conversation when I wanted to be like, when can people see you next and all that stuff. But obviously, like, we're just not there. So, people can check you out on the internet. I imagine Pressure's probably available on all the streaming platforms, but I'm sure that you guys wouldn't mind if they picked up a physical copy.
Yeah. If you're seeing this, and you want to check the band out, check us out on Spotify, YouTube. We got some great music videos. And we've, the record, if you do want to go to the website, thecommonheart.com and get yourself a record. I have been splitting the profits out to the actual musicians in the band and just trying to help us all along and, push through this thing. But yeah, if you grabbed a record, I'd appreciate it. I hope you like the band. But I love to promote the YouTube because we put a lot of time into our music videos. They're pretty good. Shout out to Bradley Adam, our director, who's probably still editing other videos. He doesn't even know there's a quarantine.
As somebody that is, just a hair older than me, I'm curious about like what
I appreciate that.
But like we come from this time when we first started playing in bands, social media was like, what? That's not a thing. You know what I mean? You fucking had like some crinkled up papers for flyers that you kept in your pocket and you gave them to people at the mall or whatever. And that's how you got people to go out. What is your relationship with social media as a musician?
It's not good right now. Well, I take that back. There is one positive standpoint. We've been featuring Black artists on the Commonheart Instagram recently, which has been really enlightening to me. It was my bandmates reached out, in the past month, and they just wanted to share some positive things on our, on our Instagram. So we kind of turned our Instagram into this educational space about Black voices and Black music because, especially because the music the Commonheart doing is completely Black music. And I wanted to make it a point to provide my big thing with everything right now is to promote education of Black history, and that we've kind of done that. So that has given me a lot of joy and a lot of just a lot of know-how, learning about different. If you go to our Instagram, you can see we have about 10 stories up of different artists that we look up to, local and national and otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's given me a lot, and I've really enjoyed doing that and doing the research and making the posts be informative to folks.
Yeah. No.
Other than that, my personal Instagram is shut down. I haven't been on Facebook in weeks. I bought a bicycle. And I put a mask on and I ride my bike every day. I'm trying to lose weight.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Outside of, and I have help with the Commonheart Instagram, and I'm proud of what we're doing there. But outside of that, there's a lot of things that aren't good for my mental health on there, and I have to take a little break. But I think I'm going to come back soon with just music. I think I want to do a bunch of music videos and put them out. But what about you? How are you holding up with it?
I'm pretty cool with everything. I'm definitely seeing a lot of stuff that I don't want to see, but I need to see it in a way. You know what I mean? Like I have to reckon with this. I think that pretending that it doesn't exist is a big part of the problem, and a reason why we might be where we are now is from people kind of, But now, I'm just making videos about albums that I love, telling all my metalhead friends to go listen to Betty Davis because Betty Davis rules, doing shit like that. And like, kind of in the similar situation as you, just like, talking about albums that I love, sharing my thoughts about things that are going on with people, doing podcasts, and just working on stuff in the background. It's like, okay, if I want there to be more positivity on the internet, I can put some on there.
Right.
I am not the internet, but I can at least do my part instead of like, just sharing an article or yelling at some ignorant asshole about why they're an asshole on their Facebook post as if it's going to help anything. Right. So it's just like, nah, just gonna keep it, just be me, just share what I love about the world. Keep putting it out there and being there for anybody that needs it,
Yeah.
So
that's good, man. I'm in the middle of a little mental reset. So I love putting music out there. So I'm definitely going to get back to that soon, but
I would be lying to you if I said there hasn't been, plenty of moments recently when I'm like, do I need to stare at a camera and talk at the internet today? Is it really necessary? Right. Like what, like who am I? That goes back to that like uncontrollable artist ego thing. Like, why the fuck do I think that my thing matters? But it's like, well, it makes me feel good to do this, and that's important. So I'll just do it, But the crippling self-doubt's always there too. And just knowing like, is it really my time to be saying anything right now? Like, does anybody give a shit what I have to say? But I still have friends, and I could still.
Well, if you don't, they'll have something to say about that.
Yeah, no. And I think that it's important because there was people that I saw, like that were like, a buddy of mine had posted something earlier on about like, hey, like if anybody has any extra money to donate to anything, here's some cool local services and people doing cool things for, the Black community and the trans community and all this other stuff that like you can donate to if you have extra money. And I was like, I have extra money, I'm going to donate. So I did it. And then that got me thinking. I was like, well, that person posted something they didn't have to, and it caused me to react in a positive way. Yeah. So I could potentially post something that's going to help somebody else react or think about something different in a positive way. So even if it doesn't seem like you're making a change or a difference, or if it doesn't feel like your voice matters right now, there could still, and all it takes is like, if I impact one person in a positive way, I know that sounds corny, but if I do, then that's awesome. That's a good use of my day and my time.
Yeah. I agree.
The last thing that I want to ask you, and it's a little out of sequence, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Because you were talking about pressure coming out, and you got physical copies. You could buy a vinyl record. I don't know if that's your first vinyl record that you've ever put out, but a question that I always love asking people, especially more old school people that appreciate classic music. What was it like for you the first time you heard a piece of music that you wrote on vinyl?
Oh man, it was really great. I'm a big believer in the record. My wife got me a record player a couple years ago, and we have all the great records that, you know, all these just like warm. I grew up with a record player, so I love having records. And the first time I heard they send you the one to make sure that everything's in place and plays through properly.
Yeah.
So listen to that. And I just got a little caught up in the moment. Just got a little, like, it's really cool just to see, not just hear it, because I love the warmth that a record will give you, and to hear it was great, but also to hold a vinyl record with your band's name on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of surreal, because like the physical case, you know, I was like, it's kind of a trip.
Yeah, it's like the first time that I heard something I had done on vinyl, it felt real. It was like the first time my music felt real. Even like having CDs pressed in high school didn't really feel real, but this felt like undeniably like, whoa,
this isn't plastic.
Yeah, this is insane. I did this.
This is a cardboard thing here, and there's a vinyl record inside.
So so cool. And now I'm jaded because I've had like 5 vinyl releases, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Whatever. Another record. I got all these test pressings laying around. Who cares? I'm all jaded now. You know.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm being a silly shit. So, with all that being said, I think we can wrap this up. I'm gonna do my outro, and that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Clegg, the Commonheart. Thank you for being here, dude. I really appreciate.
Thanks for having me, Sykes. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, dude. I hope that fucking one of these days I could see you. Not actually. I want to see you not at a show, and I want to have a drink with you. I don't want to bullshit just about, I don't know. We could bullshit about soul. We could bullshit about movies. We didn't even talk about movies. You probably like movies.
If you like my band, you should see me at a bar. In a bar stool. I'm like MC all day. Yeah. I will talk your ear off. Let's do that soon.
Yeah, I would love to, man. So yeah, dude, take care of yourself. Take care of the people around you. And dude, get through it, man. It was good talking with you. And
great talking to you.
I'm gonna fade this out, and that's it, man. Thanks. Sweet. Actually, you know what? I didn't do this. Wait, there's an outro that I do, and I completely forgot it. It really doesn't matter. My name is Sykes. Start the beat. You know what it is. I'll be back again next week. Blah, blah, blah. Same time, same place, same channel. And yeah, that's it. Okay, now I'm fading out. Whatever.